Hey guys, welcome back to It's All Reality TV.
It's all relative!
I'm your host Joe here of the Bro Scouts, and before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to the Instagram channel, Survivor Confessionals, very entertaining. Thank you so much for your support. Go check them out. Okay guys, let's start our Survivor Season 33 Millennials versus Generation X Episode 2 Love Goggles recap. We're going to start off right how the episode starts off. It's day 5 and Generation X still hasn't gotten fire. Come on, Generation X, where's your game at? Like, I thought you guys were all hard work and you...
X gon' give it to you!
Where's your fire? At this point, the three big boys aren't able to just get any fire, and they're just going to sit back and criticize David while David goes and does what he can to reassure himself as being valued a tribe. Because at this point, he was right. He's playing like one of the worst starts that you possibly can. Like, almost as bad as Ty at the very start. But so far, he hasn't redeemed himself. Like, a lot of people loved Ty, but they just saw him scurrying around. With David, they think he's very sporadic, and he's going to be just a liability the whole time, too. So, David, you gotta work on finding a way to have some worth. Well, everybody, he did. He finally got some worth. He was able to get the fire done before anyone else. I mean, they had to do it with Flint. You're not like Zeke. You didn't just get it with your bare hands and a couple bamboo doing it Boston Rob style. No, you had to use some Flint. But he's the first one in their tribe to get fire. And, you know, good for him because no one else could. And there's all these people here on this tribe that think they're doers and not sayers, just like the millennials. But David got it for you. But the problem is, no matter how hard David at this point is trying, he's still going to be the first one out. They think he's useless. He can't do anything in challenges. And he's just going to be paranoid the whole time. So I don't blame them for wanting to take him out. So, you know, David being David, he's going to keep going around and being paranoid. Unless he finds himself an idol. He lost his marbles, or coconuts, should I say, early on in episode 1. And it just was, he couldn't find them. But in this episode, he definitely found his coconut. He found the coconut that had a hidden immunity idol in it, which I thought was very ingenious by CBS and Survivor producers. Awesome, because that's way different than being up in a tree, under a rock, or in the roots of a tree that has been time and time again. So kudos, and good on you, David. Like, I'm rooting for you. I still think you're going to go really far. I at least see you being Final 5, and you heard it here first. But what's he going to do with it? That's what we don't know. What is he going to do with this idol? When's he going to play it? Is he going to have to play it today? Because he's primary suspect number 1 in Generation X. But who's primary suspect number 1 in the Millennials tribe? Well, what formed in the first episode was the Triforce group has now formulated into a showmance between Taylor and Figgy, because Taylor's got huge love goggles for Figgy. And it's reciprocated. Like, she looks at his eyes and gets lost, apparently, with those big blue eyes. But, you know, it only took 5 days and they're already smacking lips. They already beat Rob and Amber, I'm pretty sure, for how fast they linked up in a showmance as far as... Yeah, so, you know, good for them. I hope it's sincere and that you're not just playing each other or anything like that. But the problem is you're doing it so early, and you're doing it out in the open, which you shouldn't. You should be behind closed doors type of thing, and just... But they can't, because they're millennials and they think it's all free love and that everyone's a bit more chill about it because they're a millennial and no one cares. Problem is, everyone's seeing it and is very annoyed by it. And what's the worst thing you can do in Survivor on your tribe is being extremely annoying, and that's what they're being. And it's going to get under some people's skins, especially Michaela. Michaela has no problem calling out what she sees as an issue, almost like Alicia from All-Stars and Australia, but she's not doing about it the right way. I think, is going to be way too abrasive, and it's going to cost her down the road. But aside from that, primary suspect number 1 is the pair of Taylor and Figgy. We don't know who's going to be the first one out. In my opinion, it's obviously going to be the Black Widow of it. It's going to be Figgy. I mean, everyone sees her pulling the strings and see Taylor being more like the Fabio, oh dude, like I'm super bro, I'm not that smart, I'm a ski instructor. So I think she's going to have a tough time. It's going to be an uphill climb from here on out. Already labeled as a giant flirt and is gotten into showmance 5 days into the game. Everyone talking, especially Zeke noticing that this is all happening and that you got to nip that in the butt right away. He starts telling people like, hey, this is what's going on. We need to get these guys out. We got to get Figgy out. And Jay is right there and knows that everyone is, against this. So what is Jay going to do? Is he going to jump ship or is he going to stay loyal? Well, I think he's at least loyal to Taylor because he's his ride or die. But I don't think he'll have a huge problem with flipping on Figgy. So he goes and tells her, as he probably should, and say, dude, you got to put a lid on it. At least not be as out in the open about it. Like, don't get in a showmance. They never last. And he's right. Like, he really is right. And I don't personally think Taylor is going to take that seriously. Like, he might be like, yeah, I understand. I'll deal with it. But I think his emotions will get better of him in this game. And he'll forget about playing the whole game. Alright, so we get back to the Generation X tribe, and you see that Ken, who calls himself another social outcast, socially awkward person, kind of similarly to David, is out fishing. He's spearfishing and catches a monster of an octopus. So is he taking reins from the bearded pirate Rupert? Because it's been a long time since we've actually seen someone go out and spearfish and just dominate in that. I don't know if it's because of the humane rules against fishing in certain countries, but we just haven't seen someone go out into the water with a spear and come out with multiple fish like Rupert did. So I'm hoping that they have something that's pretty cool, because you need to have some kind of supplier of food, rather than just being able to walk out and find clams, because anyone can do that. You gotta create a worth, and I think he'll be able to do that. Now, Ken is able to link up with David at this point, and they see each other as even playing field, where they're both a little socially awkward. They don't mesh with the older men in this situation of Paul's brigade. And, I don't think the Kyle Gass project with Paul is going to really work out. I think Ken and David at this point are going to become a really tight pair, and I think that's going to go really far. I think those two are going to create a huge trust, especially because David showed him his idol. That is a huge trust. You do that with your ride or die, so those two are going to link up. But who are they going to link up with? Right from the get-go, they go right for Cece. Cece's on the outs. You got to go for the players that are just strangling and that are out of the conversations. And I think they're going to be very observant and see which ones are going to be stranglers that they can pick up. So I think we could see an overthrow of Paul pretty quickly. Speaking of Paul, though, pretty scary. He's on the beach and takes a sit down, and then out of nowhere he's starting to feel numb and falls back down onto his chest, and we believe that he's having a heart attack. That's the first thing you think of. You're feeling numb. Producers are telling you, give him some space. Is this going to be the first ever heart attack on Survivor? Now, if he is having a heart attack, what's that mean for Survivor? Is that going to be another case where they have to reassess how they're doing if someone's physically able to come out? Is it going to cause backlash for them even going forward in future seasons? I don't think so, considering in Survivor Australia, someone named Scoopin fell face first into a fire and burned partially a lot of his body. And there's been time and time again that people have had infections that are life-threatening and everything's fine for the show. But what is that? I don't think it's necessarily, if he was to have a heart attack and get pulled, that's the issue. I think the issue is time and time again now, when we look at a cast, we're saying which one is likely to have a med evacuation, because we're getting more and more med evacuations. It's almost, on average, one is going per season. Last season there was quite a few, because they were in a really hot area of Cambodia, and then now they're in Fiji, and we're already having, on day 5, someone ready to go out. So that's the first thing, is can we reduce future med evacuations rather than having one each season? Because that's not good odds. That's not good safety things to try and get new seasons renewed, because that's a liability for insurance and everything as well. But luckily, Paul didn't have a heart attack, apparently. What Dr. Joe told Paul is that it seems like he's had heat exhaustion and a lot of dehydration, and there was no evacuation given. Almost kind of similar to what happened to Boston Rob in Heroes vs. Villains when he collapsed, but he had trouble talking. It seemed like he couldn't even hold up a water bottle. He was just having huge troubles. That was a scary moment. But this one was as well, just because he seemed like he had a rock on his chest, which usually is like a sign of a heart attack. It seemed very clear cut. There were like numbness. It seems like he can't move. Heart attack, that is life-threatening completely. We're all good, apparently. But I'm pretty surprised that, they're not going to say we'll check on you, just make sure we're good or anything, just let him go. But there's probably an edit that I'm not seeing. So let's jump into the immunity and reward challenge here. It's a classic one. I mean, one by one, players go up the ramp or swim into the water, go up the ramp, take a key, and then get those keys and then find a ring toss, and the first one to get all 5 wins. So how do I feel about this challenge? I mean, it's been used over and over and over again, and this one I think it was used in a very uninteresting way. They just have to jump and grab it. It's not like they have a pallet just to smash the plate. And it was pretty slow paced. Like, I mean, it was neck and neck the whole time, but not in an exciting way. But then my man David comes in there and screws everything up, being a little engine that couldn't, and is super, super slow and lose them a very good spot. So I'm like, damn, David, like, you gotta rev it up. You gotta show yourself some worth. You didn't do so well on the puzzle last time, and now you're not doing so well in the water. I know you're afraid of everything, but why the hell did you come out then if you're not gonna throw down? But luckily, Cece also stunk the bed pretty hard. She didn't do any good favors for the Generation X either. And the Millennials, they were going solid. They were going steady Eddie the entire way. But when we started getting into diving into the water, Ken, my boy, shows up, dives in, goes 2 times in a row, gains a lot of time for Generation X to surprisingly win immunity and a reward. That it was huge, especially coming off of a huge scare of Paul. I'm actually quite surprised that they even allowed him to compete, just because he had such an episode. He's a heavier man and the oldest on the tribe. Like, no freaking duh he was going to be the one that would be medevaced if it was possible. So let's just throw him into a challenge and not have him sit out. That's good job. So Generation X wins, pulls a shocker from behind win, and Millennials are going to Tribal Council. So we're going to be 1-1 off of each by the end of this episode. So everyone is already thinking it's going to be okay. Figgy is the one that's the obvious one going, especially because of how the edit is going. It's got all eyes on the cool kids, and the only person that's causing friction is Michaela. And Michaela is the one that's just like, okay, I'm throwing fire on your gasoline here of your showmance. Now let's get you out. Now, so I'm thinking it's between these two. So how's it going to go down? So immediately we start seeing 4 people link up and start talking about it. You got Mari, Zeke, Hannah or Hannibal, and Adam all linked together talking about we need to get Figgy out. She is like the poverty. She is going to just wrap guys around her finger, and she's going to go all the way and be mischievous and win. And I agree. You give her a free day and she'll run with it, and she will win the whole thing if she's given it. Biggest question at this point though, because Jay knows what's going on, because they don't know Jay is so tight with those two that he is. Are you gonna stay with him, or are you gonna jump ship? That's the constant question that I'm asking for this episode. He tries to change things up, but Michelle is like, nope, we gotta stick to our ride or dies. We gotta go with the sinking ship is what I'm thinking he's doing. So they start pitching to Michaela, hopefully trying to get her and Figgy to rekindle things, and also to gain Will. Surprisingly, Will is an 18-year-old from high school here, and he's caught himself being a bloody swing vote. Like, how did that happen? I haven't seen him really talk much this entire bit. Like, he's got no edit, and now he's a swing vote. I don't know. Anyways, I don't think Michaela is going to flop and save Figgy at this point. It seems like she's not having it, and she's the one that's the most bothered by it personally, not strategically. They hit something that's personal for her. I don't know. At this point, it's got to be Figgy. I mean, that seems to be the smartest point. Like, why would we not take Figgy out if we have a chance right now? She's got 2 votes carrying with her wherever she goes, and it's super early, and the lines aren't completely drawn in the sand, and they could be a voting block and go either side that they really want to. You got to cut that out. You got to be dealing ones. So finally get into tribal council, and it seems like a lot of people are just fangirling or boying up that they're on tribal council right now. Like, we got a lot of super fans now. I mean, we're 33 seasons in. You either know the show or you don't. Adam or Dave Franco, whichever, or is fangirling so hard, just being like, I feel like I'm in my TV and everything, and we're just talking about kumbaya and everything is fine. And then finally, Jeff deters everything to, how good he is at doing that, to the showmance, and starts getting people to start talking about it. So Michaela is clearly having huge issues and is bantering back and forth with Figgy. Meanwhile, Michelle is working on Hannah so hard, because I think she purposely sat her and Jay in between Hannah, so she is on the outside and they can just talk with her and lure her, because she's probably like the easiest one to lure over, because she seems the most insecure. So if that was the actual reasoning, kudos to you, because it gives her no one else to talk to, and apparently it may have worked. So we go to the votes, and everyone's making their votes, but Hannah is there in probably what looks to be like a long bloody time, probably the longest person ever to cast a vote, and that's not a good thing to have. Like, you got to really think very quickly, because what's she putting off right now? That she's divided, and everyone that's who she thought was aligned with, like Mari and Zeke and everyone, knows something's up clearly. Even Jeff, he pops his head in, like, just to see, like, hey, you voted? You're still voting, right? And yeah, so clearly she's one of the people that ended the game for the next person that left, and everyone will know, because she was the only one that was so slow to vote. So I wonder what her reason is going to be on the day after, when they're back at tribe, or they're back at their camp. So with 3 votes to 6, Mari surprisingly goes home. What? We've barely seen a good edit on Mari, and I haven't seen her much at all this entire episode, and she's the one that's going home? Holy crap. Did not expect that one at all. I honestly thought Figgy was the one going home, especially because those were the only 2 names. If it was Figgy versus Michaela, then we have a different story, and like I'm okay, it's between those 2. Mari, where did her name come up? That was good editing. I was not expecting that to go at all. So holy banana, Mari is out. Didn't expect that. Was actually rooting for her. She seemed like a very smart, strategic player, and didn't even get a chance to play the game. And you got to really tip your hat off to Michelle. I think Michelle was the one that saved Figgy, because Jay was ready to vote her out, and she was like, nah, you ain't doing that. And I think they lured in Will on that one, and then definitely got Hannah. And we got a few questions asking ourselves about Hannah from here on out too. So we got to ask ourselves, did Hannah make the right choice by flipping her vote and taking Mari out? My opinion, it was a terrible idea, because now it's outing her to everyone else that she is not really like a snake that just will slither her way through either way. But she's not a very strategic one at all. She just kind of went with someone cornering her, and her own defense mechanism was, okay, I'll go with you. You're the cool kids. I'm not going to stick with people that I have what seems to be a good relationship with, having good longevity. I'm just going to do what you say right now and see what happens. Because I don't think in any way she's going to be in the alliance with the foursome of Taylor, Will, Jay, and Michelle. She'll maybe be number 5, but they just used her for that one situation. She's just going to be like my thumb here, just cast out, and they'll maybe try and dip into her when they can, but I think she's just going to be cast out that entire bit. Whereas she abandoned Mari and Zeke, that probably would have been very loyal to her, and she would have been in the top 3 on that alliance instead of being on a bottom of a 5-person alliance that probably she has no connection with. Like, it's kind of hard being the fifth wheel and with, you know, two other couples, it seems like. So terrible move to Hannah, in my opinion. Yeah. Another question, is Figgy the next Poverty? Like, is she? Because she's already got Taylor wrapped around her finger, and that's going to probably go, his loyalty is going to be there for the entire game, easy. And then she's got Michelle, all right, that is just like Danielle from Heroes vs. Villains, that's already out to save her no matter what someone is trying to tell her. Like, if I was put Jay in any perspective, then that makes him the Russell Hantz. In no way do I think he's like Russell Hantz, but he's in that situation where he's like, I'm ready to flip, and then she's just like, no, you're not taking her out. We're doing this together, and we're sticking with her. So better watch out for Figgy and Michelle, but Figgy needs to watch out for Michelle. I think Michelle is going to have a better case to win the game than Figgy right now, if we were to vote right now. Another question is, did this edit throw us off? Like, did it seem predictable? Absolutely not. First off, in the preview, the edit thinks that we're going to have a med evacuation because of a heart attack. All right, the guy just had dehydration. Didn't happen. And then throughout this entire edit, we thought that we were getting a Michaela versus a Figgy standoff, and those two will be on the chopping block because one's causing chaos, and then one is in a showman. So which is going to be? All right, over here we have Mari, and she's gone. Yeah. So what's next? Next time on the scenes, very interesting, and it's what the rumors were actually saying. If you do Survivor Sucks or anything like that, that they're gonna do a swap very early. We're already down 2 people. We're now up to the usual cast of 18 people, and you know, we see them at Tribe holding out a rock, and they're gonna be like 3, 2, 1, flip, and now this is probably the color of your rock that you're gonna be going. Is it gonna be 2 tribes? I don't think so. I think it's gonna be 3. That's what the rumor is, and so far it's working out that way. Because then it'd be 6, 6, and 6, and then you're gonna see a mix of millennials and Generation X, obviously. I guess the question is, who's getting split up, who's staying together? I think we're gonna see a little deja vu of the couple, Figgy and Taylor, will get split up just like Rob and Amber, except they're not in too deep on it like Rob and Amber were, where Taylor doesn't really need to make a case, say to Jay or something. He's like, you save her, I'll save you, and then screw him over. So I think they're going to get split up. And at this point, though, what is Adam and Zeke going to do? It shows that they're having very huge frustrations and betrayals that they're talking about with Hannah. Are they sitting ducks, or are they going to be leaving as a pair onto another part of the island in a new atmosphere where they can really thrive? Like, this is an opportunity when it's 6 people, because you can easily now try and whittle your way. If there's not a 4-person alliance or anything like that, it's just open ground, you can easily get into a good pivotal spot and trust with someone that way. And I guess the last question is, after this entire episode, is where is Hannah going to lie? Is she actually going to be strong with the couple? Is she going to be a cast out? Or is she going to be by herself entirely on an island with none of the millennials like that and be on a total Gen X and see how she messes there? Because at this point, I don't think she's going to have an entire alliance at all. So that's our recap, guys. Thanks for joining me. If you have any questions that you want me to address when we do the next episode for episode 3, or do one later, make some comments. I'm happy to answer them. All right, so thanks for stopping by. Please subscribe and let me know what you think. All right, thanks, guys.